It's Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that means it is time for Domain to Profit. Time to look through expiring domain names and pick out the best ones. Pick out the ones, at least, that I and you in the chat are interested in discussing and talking about, and possibly at the end of the auction, buying. That's it. That's pretty much, that's the show. That's the show. That's what you're about to see. Over 100,000 expiring domain names. We're going to look through them and get the best ones to the top and talk about them. Like, wish it was more actually, I don't wish it was more complicated. There's enough complication in life, but here we keep it simple. So who the heck am I? I am Drew Wash. I am a domain name guru. Actually, I hate the word guru, but we will see a domain name with guru in it here in just a few minutes. So let's go with guru. But I have been developing domain names for, a long freaking time. Since I was, what, 20? 20. Yeah, 20. Been developing, figuring out how to build websites, build businesses on domain names, and stumbled across premium domain names like towing.com and have managed to develop some really successful businesses. And anyhow, so I come here each Monday, 3 p.m. to look through the expiring domain names, the same domain names that I continue to buy from. You'll be competing with me to buy these domain names, but, you know, with a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of, you know, I don't know. What am I talking about here? What I'm talking about, getting you something that you're passionate about so you can build it and build the life that you're looking for yourself, right? That's what we're talking about. I've managed to build a nice little life for myself from domain names and simple web businesses, and I just want to help you do it as well. So why? Why do I want to help you do it? Well, mostly because I think great domain names should be developed. Great domain names are supposed to have websites on them that bring value to the world, and far too many domain names are out there just sitting there, or just sitting there with like ads on them, or just, they don't bring value to the world. And I am all about making the world better by developing more domain names. That's my arena. That's the area I can actually do something about. So I can't do it all myself. So I bring this to you. I try to help in whatever way I can to get you into the right domain name with the best opportunity for you to be successful, to bring value to the world through a domain name so you can reap the benefits. Seems pretty reasonable. And if nothing else, we got a great community over on chat, great people that join us here each week to talk about what we love. Maybe we're geeks, maybe we're nerds, I don't know, but we love domain names and the opportunity and potential they have. So lots of good people in the chat. Make sure you say hi to them. I'm Drew Wash. This is Domain to Profit. Let's get this going.
From domain to profit, domain to profit, from time to a business. Domain to profit, join Drew Wash and get started right now.
That was me clicking the audio button. So there you go. That, you know, I can't get it all right. David, first one on the stream, first one in the chat. Howdy, nice to see you. Mike, nice to see you here live as well. If you are watching this on restream, do what Mike did last week and just give us a little comment. Let us know that you're here, you're watching. You can do that right below the video on YouTube. I appreciate the news out there watching, even if it's not live. Join us live, though. That's definitely the best way to do it, but life happens. I get it. Even I have to, you know, I've had to record one or two. Had to do one a few weeks ago from the back of my car while driving. Anyhow, Walter, nice to see you. Nice to have you joining us here on Domain to Profit, and Jacob as well. Nice to see you again. Always good to see the familiar faces coming in week to week. Hey, we love these domains. We might as well check them out together, right? Let me see here. Stuart saying, hey, Drew and everyone, hope you're having a productive Monday. No, it's not productive yet. But I am having a fun Monday now that I'm here with you hanging out to talk about domain names. So In fact, I was just kicking myself before this. Like, I really need to figure out how I can get more done prior to going live. Anyhow, Mondays end up being about this show, which is fine, except for I do want to kick some butt and get some work done as well. So, but that's for later on. Well, behind me, eventually, here, oh yeah, here we go. Behind me, you will see this here, which is expireddomains.net, expireddomains.net. Hopefully you see that up in the URL bar. This is where we spend our time. This is the website that allows us to search through hundreds of thousands, in fact, over 1 million domain names that are deleted and going to become available for you to register at some point in the future, assuming nobody buys it at auction, which is a huge assumption, because what I and many of us do is we look through the domain names as they're expiring, and before they ever become available to go and try to hand register again, they go through auction, and I promise you, there's thousands of people that are looking through these expiring domain names for the best domain names to register. So if you love them, you gotta pay up for them at auction, and that is what we're here for. Most people don't even know that this is an opportunity for them to get these expiring domain names at auction. So that's one of the kind of key things that we do here is make sure you know about it. Make sure you know about the opportunity, and that's what we're going to do. So expireddomains.net is where you want to go. And I will add this down here. This is the how we set up our filters over on expireddomains.net. And the filters essentially allow us to take hundreds of thousands of domain names, get rid of the hyphens, get rid of the numbers, concentrate on 1 to 3 words of English language. And then we only look at .com domain names because, well, those are the domain names that are going to give you the best opportunity at resale and or that exact match domain name in a .com is what gives you the authority and validation necessary to, well, jumpstart these domain-based businesses that we talk about. Because that's what we talk about here is domain-based businesses. So this is like towing.com. What do you think of when you hear towing.com? It has to do something with towing, right? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I say it is like color by number. All it is a canvas with the, the little outline and all the numbers. And then all we have to do as domain-based business developers is color by number. Just like mostly stay inside the lines, and you're going to have a business that will be able to generate monthly reoccurring revenue for you based on just a domain name. Hopefully something in there perks you up because it's good stuff, and that's why I bring it to you. So, okay. Let's see here. And as I mentioned, one of the first domain names right on top, once we get here, we order by valuation, which is one of those 4 columns. When you click on that, it's going to bring the most valuable domain names to the top. And that is not actual the value of the domain name. Think of it as an order code. It brings the domain names that are most likely to be the best ones to talk about to the top. Don't think of it as value. You're going to waste a bunch of money if you do that. But as you can see here, first domain name, Loveguru.com. So I kind of said I was the domain guru. That's not true. I am the domain development guy. Drew Walsh, the domain development guy. So let me zoom out a little bit here to get what I can on the screen. So Loveguru.com is one of the domain names up for auction this week. And you'll see here, this domain name ends tomorrow, already up over $3,000. Why would somebody pay that much for loveguru.com? Well, they probably think they are indeed the loveguru.com. I can't imagine somebody's buying that for resale because that's $3,000. Sounds pretty darn expensive. Let's go over to spyfu.com. Spyfu.com, you can see it up in the URL. SpyFu is just a search engine optimization and keyword tool. We use it to get an idea of how many times something's searched, which you'll see that here in a moment. Love Guru. Nobody's going to search for Love Guru. Certainly nobody's searching for, oh, that's right. Isn't there a movie called Love Guru? I think so. Yeah, The Love Guru. I think it's a movie or something like that. So that's going to skew the numbers because realistically, I was thinking about loveguru.com, certainly not anything to do with somebody's trademark or a movie that's out there, which I believe there is something called The Love Guru. But instead, I was thinking more along the lines of, hey, somebody out there, whether it's a matchmaking service, whether it's a dating service, whether it's somebody who like shares some kind of, I know there's all kinds of services that help people find love, right? I think there are. I used to see in like Delta Sky Club magazine, there was somebody who's like ads for matchmaker to the rich and famous or something like that. There were ads in the magazine. So I'm guessing that service would love to be considered the Love Guru, right? Maybe, maybe not. So this falls, in my opinion, a little bit in that category of a marketing domain name, something that when somebody hears, they probably know exactly what it is that the person that has this domain name does. They're a matchmaker, they're kind of helping people find love, or maybe they're just profiting off of the Love Guru movie. Scrolling down here on spyfu.com, our tool that we use, you'll see there's really nothing happening here as far as money. We want domain names that have money behind them. Businesses paying to advertise, businesses participating in this keyword as a market. You'll see there's 0 advertisers, 0 cost per click happening on it. So that kind of makes it a dud and worth, skipping over a little bit. So we will move on to the next domain name, loveguru.com. Yeah, I would have trouble coming up with a paying thousands for it, but a fun domain name. And certainly if you are in the matchmaking category in that arena, then you're going to love loveguru.com. Home care. Yeah. Not a bad domain name, not a huge fan of it though. Tiny Tools is one of the one I kind of like this. For some reason, when I was first starting out in web dev, I thought that I used a tool from a company called Tiny Tools, or it was like small web development tools. Evidently, I'm mistaken, or they let their domain name expire. I'm not sure which one it is. But what a nice little name. Let's check it out, see if anybody's searching for it, see what's going on with tinytools.com. So what does this paint? What's the color by number picture on that canvas for you when you hear tinytools.com? Yes, you can go the route of literal tiny tools. I have sunglasses that the screw falls out of like every week. It's like this magical screw that when it falls out, somehow I've miraculously always managed to find it and use this little screwdriver to put it back in and tighten it. In fact, this last time it was a miracle I found it. It was lost for like a week in the middle of my carpet at the office. And I took the time to, got lucky enough to find it again. And when I found it, I super glued that bad boy in this time. Hopefully it doesn't come out again. But Tiny Tools, you can go literal, like little screwdrivers and things like that, or things for like dealing with maybe those people that like paint miniatures or something like that, maybe. Or I was thinking along the lines of, you know how I love little web bots and little web scripts. Everybody's out there. We're all creating these little scripts that do certain things. Tinytools.com. Why not? Why not have tools that you create for websites and put them on tinytools.com? At least sounds reasonable. I'll toss it into SpyFu just to see if there's anything happening with it. Although I don't believe there would be. It doesn't seem like there would be. 90 searches. That's a pretty low number, not something really to... But one of the nice things about SpyFu is when it loads, you can kind of see like tiny saw tool, not sure what that is, tiny power tools, tiny garden tools. I'm not sure if they're maybe looking for toys, more or less toys for kids or something, or not. If these are actual things, look, tiny saw tool. That seems like something that belongs on tinytools.com. Tiny Power Tools belongs on tony.com or tinytools.com. So similar keywords are a good example of keywords that content you might put on your website, keywords you might be able to target. You'll see several hundred keyword searches here. Then over here, we'll talk about that later on. But that third column, this one right above my head, these questions are the questions that people are asking. A lot of times, if you answer those questions on your website, that's great for what content you should put on your website to start with. No, 2 advertisers, but nobody's paying any money to target Tiny Tools. So other than a fun little domain name, we'll move on. Geniusminds.com, vanity. The Organic Shop. CypherPay. Anybody watch The Matrix? Cypher. Oh, look at this. We got a bad camel case. So look at this domain name here. It looks like, I'm not even sure what they're doing here, but it's Market Ads, marketads.com. You think that's anything? That doesn't seem like something. Well, here's what we do. So instead of taking Drew's, my gut feel says it's not really anything, but why not check it out? I don't know what a market ad would be. 135 searches. We'll do a Control F on our browser, market ads. Now we have to type it in. So one of the things you'll notice up here in the search bar, I'm taking our exact domain name, the domain name we're looking at, I'm pulling off the .com, and then I am putting those keywords, the words that make up the domain name, into the search. I kind of need to mention that each week, but I kind of forget to. Just like I actually also forget, subscribe, like this video, please. I appreciate it. Forget to mention that every week too. But somehow managed to, okay, anyhow. Marketads.com, 135 searches for market ads. But one of the things that we do when we do a Control F and type in the keywords, it will highlight, like this section up here, you'll see how it's highlighted those words, market ads. Well, you'll see that down the middle, there's no other place that market ads is highlighted. If we get rid of that S and just do market ad, yes, market ad seems to be a thing. The only thing is you got to watch out when you kind of don't have that exact match. One letter matters when it comes to a domain name. If people aren't searching for it, you're really going to be at the mercy of people when you call them to make the connection that the S is okay. So I don't know if this case is. So let's look at some of these. Country market ad. I don't even know what the heck that is. Free Pete's. Okay, these are companies. So basically people are looking for these retail places, their ads. Basically that sounds like a horrible reason to buy a domain name. So there we go. We'll skip over marketads.com. One of the things kind of keep in mind though, when you're looking at expireddomains.net, it's going to guess at the words. For some reason, it thinks this domain name is Marky Tads. So you have to use your eyes and pull in the best version of the domain name. We do miss some, so if you're joining us live, of course, mention them in the chat if you see something that is worth you're wondering why I'm missing it, or if you want to kind of know why I'm skipping it. Could be that I'm just messing it up. See Kevin checking in. Saw Kevin at NamesCon. He's saying he's plugging away on 2 of his domain name projects. The world thanks Kevin. Kevin, thank you for developing domain names. I love it. Wishing you success as you build those out. Ride Gear. Let's check out Ride Gear. I don't know if it's approaching that brandable type of thing. Let's check. 4 days left on the auction, $325. The current price of ridegear.com. We are going over by Foo. I could see this being something, maybe. or not. So this appears that it's going to fall more in the idea of a brandable type domain name. Nobody's really searching, only 44 searches for ride gear. You'll see it appears that most people are searching for riding gear, riding ing gear. Can you target that keyword? Absolutely. Will you have much success? You could. I mean, it's going to depend on the content of your website and how well you represent ridegear.com and what the content belongs. You can see here ridinggear.com or riding gear as a keyword. There are more searches. So there are searches related to ride gear, riding gear. Let's go see if there's money. There's only one advertiser paying for 50 cents for this exact keyword. So one of the things that I was thinking with it is this right here. You can kind of see this keyword. Hopefully it kind of peers in. I used to deal some of my earliest websites, for whatever reason, I got motorcycleclubsindex.com, and I put up a website for motorcycle clubs, and I don't believe it's up anymore. Goodness, if it's still up, I have no idea what's on it. And what I was doing was I was building out a directory, as I do with many different domain names, to where motorcycle clubs could register, show off their motorcycle club. The reason why I built this website is because motorcycles, and possibly with this industry, ride gear, motorcycles are especially one of those places where people bring their discretionary income, that extra money they have, the bonus money they have, they bring it to their motorcycle life. So especially if you're looking to, possibly profit from somebody's hobby or something that they're passionate about, motorcycles are one of those industries that's really good for that. Ridegear.com could be your angle towards motorcycles, or you could see BMW riding gear, youth riding gear. I'm guessing ridegear.com, you could do horse stuff. It's a pretty good brand, just not much search. If you call somebody up though, one of the things I talk about, in fact, let me try to pull it up on the screen, this over that side. One of the things that it talks about there is when you build out the right domain name, it gives you authority, validation, and access to an industry. That access to the industry piece is really important. And if you call somebody up and you say, hey, we have ridegear.com, and I would love to feature your product, your service on ridegear.com, it sounds pretty authoritative. It sounds like you have access to that industry. It sounds like you belong, even if in reality you're just somebody that watched somebody's web stream, saw ridegear.com was going to become available in 4 days, and decided to pay some money for it. So because it's brandable, who knows what it's going to go for anymore. If it's a reasonable domain name, which that one does seem to be, it's probably going to go for $1,200 or so. If you can get it for cheaper, then that's great. Rightinvestment.com. Oh, yes. Can you see that? Yes. Yes, it does show behind me. So rightinvestment.com, pretty good domain name. And I hit the wrong button, I believe. What is going on here? Not sure what's happening here. Evidently page down now does not page down. It goes to the next tab. That's exciting. Right investment I like. It's not a bad one. I just don't mess with banking or anything like that. Invest Max, same kind of thing. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Page down's working again. That was going to drive me insane. Real feedback, that falls in that ballpark of along the lines of brandable type domain name. Brandable meaning what's on real feedback. So if you were to look at a blank canvas, say real feedback, what's on it? Real feedback. It doesn't, the picture's blurry, right? It's not really a clear picture, even when you color in what you think it's supposed to be. Real feedback to me is going to be talking about getting real feedback from your customers. So this would probably be a great domain name for somebody who's looking to send out those surveys after somebody buys or uses your service, realfeedback.com. I could see that, but other than that, it doesn't really speak much. We'll keep on moving. Make sure you let me know in the chat if you see something I'm skipping over that you love. Portholes sounds like a fun domain name. Not sure what you would do with it. Woofed. That sounds like it'd be a good like Food Network show, like man versus food type of thing. I used to watch that with my son. Guys eating giant amounts of food. Audience development. I think we maybe talked about that last week. Not a big fan of it. You can kind of see what it might be. Audience development. Player book. I don't know. Not really loving it. Better fishing. I think I saw that one up there. Any fishers out there might be interested in better fishing. So if you're joining us and maybe this is your first time watching, you're coming in, you're like, what's going on here? Well, we are looking through expiring domain names. These are domain names that the old owner has let go of, and now they are coming up for auction. These domain names are going to be available again. Before you're able to just go and type them in and register them, they go to auction, meaning if you want them, you're going to have to pay for them or bid on them at auction. So that's important to know. If you think that they're ever going to be just like available for registration, probably not going to happen. Tutor class, if it's class tutor, maybe. And let me just take a moment to just talk about maybe that idea of tutor, like class tutor might be a pretty good, it might be a good domain name, might have some keyword search. Tutor class, like it sounds like it's almost, anytime it's almost good, don't just ignore it, just move on. You're going to waste money. More money is wasted on almost good domain names than anything else. So leave that for somebody else to bid on. Unless you check out the numbers and you're like, oh, that's a giant domain name. I doubt it is. Rightdentist.com, that's almost feels almost, it's an almost. It almost feels almost. That even sounds worse. Grow Gardens seems reasonable. So what we do is as we go through these, we look at the domain name and the ones that kind of grab our attention. They look like something that could be developed into some kind of web business of some sort. They kind of paint that picture, the color by number for us. Then, well, we click on it. Weddingconference.com. As the guy who owns wedding.app, one of the few non.com domains I own is wedding.app. But I bought it because I own weddingphotos.com, djs.com, photobooths.com, and bartenders.com. We have a lot of domain names in that event space, and weddings is one of those events. So this ends in 2 days, weddingconference.com. So why I mention that is I can tell you that there are several, well, actually quite a few conferences and things for weddings that target wedding. In fact, most major cities have wedding conferences of some type. That's where bridal, you can go look at dresses, event spaces and things. So wedding conference could be a kind of a simple website that shows the various wedding conferences in a certain area. Let's go check it out on SpyFu, see if anybody searches. I'm trying to think of what they would search for. Would they search for wedding conference or wedding show? Probably something like wedding show, maybe. Let's see. Let's find out. 110 people are searching for wedding conference. I'm going to grab this, toss it up in the Control F to highlight them, see if we see anything more. So wedding conferences 2009. That's kind of 2019. That's what I'm thinking. So that's kind of what I was looking at is what are the wedding conferences that are out there? You can see there are other, there's a lot of different conferences. So you'll see all kinds of local ones, wedding cake conference, wedding planner conference. So there's a lot in that whole industry. So possibly worth looking at. Just I'm not entirely sure what you do with it, but well, it kind of says wedding conference. So advertisers, one, cost per click, $1.67. So possibly worth, I'm going to add it to my watch list. I don't know if I don't know. So any of them you see me add to my watch list or even bid on, it doesn't mean I'm going to go and win them. It just means I'm kind of interested in them. But like, if you're interested in them, if you see a domain name that I'm highlighting and you're kind of like, I want that domain name, feel free to message me over on Twitter. There's very few domain names that I'm going to go after with my top effort. For the most part, I want you to get these domain names. So let me know if I go, if I mention something, you're like, hey, I want that domain name. I really don't want to bid against Drew. No, I want you to win. I want you to win. Even if you outbid me, I'm fine with that. But at the same time, if I don't need the bid, I don't need the bid. So I want to get out of your way. So game chess game would be good. Mini offices, I actually kind of like this one here. I didn't even know that GoDaddy's auctions did pork bun. Pork bun is a different registrar. I think they have some of the cheapest annual fees on domain names, I think. But I didn't know their domains went through GoDaddy expired. So there you go. Evidently they do. Minioffice.com ends in 6 days, $12 currently. Let me just take this moment to say this. When you see a domain name that is $12, $10, those low amounts, do not bid until, yes, that's right, bid until like 5 minutes and 10 seconds left is when you want to place your bid for that domain name. When you bid, you want to bid as late as possible, and these auctions add 5 minutes for last second bid. So if you waited till 2 seconds left thinking you're going to like snipe in there late, no, it's going to add 5 minutes to the auction. So it does nothing to kind of wait that long. In fact, you get the punishment of adding that extra 5 minutes, and now everybody else that was occupied with other auctions, now they have an opportunity to bid against you on this domain. So I promise you, people watch the domains as they are expiring, and they watch for domains with bids. Bidding as close to 5 minutes as you can is the best strategy for somebody that's manually doing this for sure. So when you see it at $12, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm gonna go bid on it now. Wait until 5 minutes left. In this case, this ends in 6 days. So minioffices.com. Okay, Drew, you said you're gonna wait till bid on it. Why would you be interested in minioffices.com? Well, what does it paint in your head? You may not be in the same situation as me. When it comes to mini offices, I'm thinking shared offices. In fact, or just small offices for that one person, two person business. When I first started, actually, I just mentioned this on Twitter just recently. Like one of my first like official businesses, I started an auto transport brokerage. And when we did that, I started out of a 10 by 10 office. It was a mini office. It was, we didn't have bathrooms or anything like that. It kind of had this shared little sitting area. It was for psychologists and things like that, but it was a mini office. Like these are actual things. I think it was like $300 a month for a 10 by 10 room. And I had desks against like several of the walls, and anyhow. So mini offices are certainly a thing, just like mini houses are. Well, there you go. Mini office warehouse. You'll see some of these other keywords showing up here. Certainly worth probably a watch from me at least. Not entirely sure what I'd do with it, but it sounds like a directory, right? It sounds like an opportunity to show like, hey, mini offices may not, it's like subletting a room in your office, kind of like an Airbnb for offices, maybe. Anyhow, bid late. I love it. Yeah, you know what? I'll mention it every week, but yeah, it's the domain to profit 10 commandments. Thou shalt not bid on $12 domain names until like the last 5 minutes. That's one of them. And thou shalt not bid on almost good domain names That is another good one. Both of those will save you money and headaches and keep other people from noticing your domain names. There's a lot of bots and people that use programs to go look at these domains. They're still going to bid against you. So don't be shocked when other people bid against you, but your competition's not some computer somewhere that's doing it. They have their max bid already set. What you're up against is you want to make sure that the other people that are looking at the screen right when these domains are ending, that they don't have an opportunity to bid against you. In fact, just today, this is actually funny. Just before the show, I pulled it up. I was like, I realized talking to the guys upstairs in the office, I was like, I really hope there's some good domain names today, because it gets a little tough when the domains are sparse. And I pulled it up, and one of the domain names, when it first pulled up, it showed like the domains that are ending soon over on expireddomains.net. And one of the ones right towards the top of the list was localstartups.com. And I'm like, local startups, I was like, that's interesting. I didn't see that last week. I click on it, 5 minutes and 30 seconds left. I'm like, oh my goodness. And it's like $187. I put in like $300 or something. Next thing you know, boom, I own localstartups.com for, I think, $257. So somebody out there was probably, let's go look. Let's go look, actually. Let's see if the person that I was bidding against, if they made a mistake and bid early. Because, okay, here it is, $257. I bought localstartups.com. So I did not know this domain name was out there. I grabbed it kind of last minute, and it was 5 minutes left, just a little over 5 minutes left in the auction. You'll see it right here. I came in and boom, tossed in my max bid, 588 in fact. But let's go out and look. I think there's an opportunity. Hopefully it's helpful to illustrate a point that I make often, and that is don't bid until last minute. So, okay, so my bid went in at 10:07 a.m. And you'll see most of these bids are happening within the last couple of minutes of the auction, which is good. That's good. They're doing a good job. I have no idea how many times this bidder here, I believe, is an auto bidder. So this is one of the domain people that use a bot, and they a lot of times bid like, I think, 2 minutes left. I'd have to go, I have logs. I keep logs on a lot of this stuff. Point being, let's go, this domain, my goodness, there's a lot of bids on this domain. Okay, let's see if we can get to the bottom of it. So, sorry, I'm dealing with GoDaddy stuff here, peeps. It's not the most helpful site to, okay. So you'll see the first person that bid, they did it, it appears 3 hours before the auction ended. They put in that $12 bid. So, and then somebody came along, these are higher bidder numbers. These are probably manual people. They're likely not automated. They're like, hey, somebody bid on that. That's a pretty good domain name. I'll bid too. So 2 hours later, they do that. Who knows when this domain name ends? I will probably guess based on this person here, who is that automated bidder, they likely were bidding within the last 5 minutes of the domain name, meaning the auction probably ended right around 9 or 9:10 or something like that, Pacific Daily Time, which is what, 12:15 or something. So point being, all of that happened. So basically, long story short, once people start bidding, you'll see it gets carried away. We have the same people because that automated bidder, what, 91392, which I think is Huge Domains, which a lot of people, yeah. Because the automated bidding was pushing this domain back, right? Every 5 minutes, I was able to come in with 5 minutes left. If it would have just ended when it was supposed to at like 12:15, I would have never saw this domain name. But because they're doing these last minute bid things and it's adding 5 minutes every stinking time, who comes in with the high bid? This guy. Does that show you? Hopefully, I know that's a lot of scrolling, a lot of small text on the screen. Point being, you do not want to extend the auction if you can at all help it. This person here, they are going to extend the auction because they just have a bot that sits there and just extends the auction by like a minimum bid each time. But here's the thing, they were going to win the domain. Like they were going to win this. This was going to end, but then I came along and got it because they had extended it over and over. Makes sense? I hope that illustrates it. Long story short, as Stuart had mentioned, it's one of the domain to profit 10 commandments. Bid with just over 5 minutes left, because if you extend that auction, you're inviting people to come bid against you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Buyhour.com, yourclosing.com. You know what? Yourclosing.com. I could see that being something. Yourclosing.com. What do you think would be on that? So let's, I hope you kind of play along in your brain as you see a domain name. If I know you do, but if you're not entirely, if you're new to these domain things, here's what domain names offer: an opportunity to be inventive, be imaginative. What do you see when you see yourclosing.com? I see a service that helps organize the closing of selling houses, closing on mergers and acquisition, but businesses being sold. So yes, it could just be a title company, but it could be a service that helps even title companies organize closings and communicate the buyers and sellers. If you sold real estate, you know how freaking annoying the whole closing process is. There's a lot of hands in the thing. In most cases, there's not like an organized place you can go to read about the schedule or what's happening. You kind of don't know certain things until you sit at the table for the closing. And there's a better way, right? Well, yourclosing.com can help with that. Sounds like a reasonable thing. So this is more of a brandable, but I could see this being a service that organizes the closing of anything that needs to be closing. So houses especially. Okay. So I like your closing. By hour, same kind of thing. There's all these companies out there that try to help you with payroll, try to help you with payroll reports and hourly employees and things. There's room for somebody to do something more simple. There's something there for somebody to do, like buyhour.com. I bill out my time buyhour.com. I highly recommend you do not bill out your time by hour. I advocate more for a work hard once, build something, and have that generate revenue for you over time. But buyhour.com could be a payroll service or a consultant service, an application that helps you track your time. Look at that. These great, some good domain names. Not like perfect domains, but pretty good. Game framework. I know Matt, who watches, he's always into gaming. Not sure, Matt, gameframework.com. I mean, I know there's a few game frameworks, but maybe worth something. It's a long domain name. Number of characters is kind of long. Man. National Credit Repair. You see over here, this column, that column, where is that? Yeah. So this column here is cost per click. It is a column I added in. So all the way up on the top of expired domains, kind of off to the side, there's an option for a column, to add a column. You can go in there and add some Google data. To my knowledge, that was supposed to go away. Maybe it's just historical data. Either way, you can see that the cost per click for credit repair type stuff is kind of high, but for the most part, it's just not a great domain name. Just because there's a high cost per click doesn't mean it's that domain name's ready for money, especially in my opinion. If you buy domains strictly based on cost per click, you're going to buy a lot of the wrong domain names. It's not worth being that won't make it a commandment of domain to profit, but don't buy on cost per click alone. It is one data point that might help you. Subliminally.com. It's a fun domain name. Yeah, Tyler Durden, Mr. Fight Club there. I see you asking some questions. I'm not entirely sure what it is that you're asking. So, Matt, if you can be helpful, go for it. Otherwise, you might need to ask that out on Twitter, asking about domain taxation or something like that, estimated value. Okay. Reliable reviews. So didn't we talk about trusted feedback or something like that earlier? Reliable reviews. I think we might have mentioned that last week even. Click approval. So I just going to say, so Tyler appears to be asking about the estimated value of a domain name. That's that valuation column that we look at here. That number it's a fictional number. Think of it as, remember how I just said cost per click is a data point. Don't make a decision based on cost per click, but it's just a data point. The valuation that GoDaddy calculates, they're looking at some data points and kind of tossing a number up there. Don't think of it as the actual value of a domain name. It is not the value of that domain name. It is not the estimated value. They call it that, but I'm here to tell you it's not the estimated value. Ignore it. Nearly everyone out there, including myself that has been in domain names for a long time, will tell you, ignore that number. What it does is it's a data point to help you organize a list of domain names to possibly bring some of the better ones to the top. It is not the actual value. Do not buy on cost per click. Do not buy on valuation. Those two, do not buy on any one single piece of data. Look at the full domain name. Specifically for what we talk about on domain to profit, look at that domain name, the data set, so these different characteristics, how many people are advertising on it, what's the cost per click. The estimated value is just what we order by. We don't talk about it other than that. What we really want to see is there competition? Does this domain name validate you in an industry? Does it paint a picture on the canvas of what should be on that domain name? Bamboo Pay. What the hell is that? Nobody knows. It's not worth anything except for the cost per clicks there. Its value is estimated at $2,700. Heck, it even has a bid of $2,900. Actually, that's Dad Labs. But anyhow, these are just data points. Unless you know that you love this domain name, want to develop it, see the full picture for the domain name, don't bid on it. It needs to be your arena that you want to work in. I still work. Transportation is my area. If I see a transportation domain name, in fact, I think I own transportation.com, maybe. Anyhow, I own a bunch of them. If it's in transportation logistics, that's my area. That's how we got on towing.com. That's how we knew the value of things. Know your area. Matt in the chat, he's a game guy. Like he said, he already mentioned game framework to me because I know he looks for games. We've had Vito, who works in entertainment and streaming. Numerous different people in the chat are working on projects in specific arenas. So kind of find your niche. Photo Boss, this kind of goes along the idea of Loveguru. $10 currently, $5.21. Not going to look at the keyword data on it. We've not looked at much keyword data. I like Photo Boss just from the idea of it sounds like a good brand. Licensedtherapists.com. Is this real? Is this real life? Is this like, let's check this out. This one might be, it looks long. So this one ends tomorrow. This might be like a real deal type domain name. So the bid currently is $100, and this may be one of the, nope, maybe not. Okay. It does not appear to be a thing like I had hoped it would be. I'm pretty sure it is, though. It's nothing spelled wrong that I see. Licensed therapist. So here's what I'm looking at. So even though the keyword data for licensed therapists is 55, nobody's really searching for it. Licensed therapists, so it's plural, near me, 2,200 searches. Canon 9 license. So there's some questions. So this is a good opportunity to talk about what, and you can get the singular for, okay, I think Jacob's saying, let's go check it out. Licensedtherapist.com. So one of the things you can do is, the domain names we're looking at are specifically domain names that are expiring, coming up for auction. Okay, evidently I am misunderstanding. Okay, licensed therapist is, unless, I'm guessing he was not referring to licensed therapist. Okay, so the plural though, licensedtherapists.com, ends tomorrow, currently $100. And I want to look at the data because this is the opportunity to look at this data and to talk about how we would use this. When you see a domain name like this, yeah, the keyword data for the specific domain name, not all that great. However, you've certainly heard people say, hey, licensed therapists, you kind of know that's a real thing. Maybe it's an industry that you don't know much about, but you don't need to know much about it to build a website that lets those who do know about it share their expertise. And that's what we look to do. I don't know anything about towing. I don't know anything. I've never towed a car, had my car towed. I've had my car unlocked and things before, but I don't know anything about towing. But what I did was know the domain name mattered to that industry, and I just built a site in a way that shares that domain name with that industry. Same thing can happen here. You'll see licensed therapists near me, which you know, one of the 10 commandments probably of domain to profit is a domain name, our domain name followed by near me in this middle section is a very good thing to see. That means that we can localize our domain name, localize it so that way if you're looking for a licensed therapist in San Francisco or a licensed therapist in Cincinnati, Ohio, or Orlando, Florida, each of these major cities needs a licensed therapist. So that's what people are looking for when they toss in near me. Essentially what you do is provide a local search on your domain name to where they could find licensed therapists near them. And essentially you can use what I call the local Legion 300. It's something I talked about on this show somewhat frequently. Get your first 300 customers, your first 300 licensed therapists on licensedtherapists.com. There's over 300 cities in the United States with over 100,000 people in the population as of census data. So just find one paying advertiser for licensedtherapists.com to represent each of the top 300 cities, and voila, your first 300 customers. Do the math, $20 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, depending on what value you're providing them. I mean, the numbers add up, and now you are really talking somewhat significant money. So what's this third column? This is one of those times that this column here really does impact what we're talking about here. Knowing you, knowing me, like, I'm not a licensed therapist. I don't know a ton about this. I'm not going to be the expert on this subject. You know who the experts are? The licensed therapists, right? Or the people that have come before you that have the answers to the questions people are asking. So you can just, instead of answering the questions yourself, you build a website that allows your visitors to get the answers to these questions here. That creates content for your website. You didn't have to create the content. So many people buy a domain name and go hire a bunch of virtual assistants to create a bunch of content that really doesn't benefit anybody, just so they can have content and build out a website. And is that an option? Sure. Lots of people do that. But I say instead, we want these domain names to bring value to the world. And in order to do that, we actually have to answer the questions that they're asking. And chances are you and some virtual assistant is not going to be able to answer that question well for your visitor. Instead, let the experts answer it by giving them an opportunity to do that. Just a simple Q&A section on your website. I showed last week the towing.com Q&A section. So there is one advertiser paying over $4 for this keyword. I'm guessing if we dive into the keyword that makes me most excited, I'm clicking on licensed therapists near me. Let's look at the money data for this one. Now we're getting closer to the numbers that you know I like to see. I want to see 10 or more advertisers paying $2 or more per click. So now we're talking about, like, there's competition. People are trying to reach this audience on this topic. So when we look at this here, or over here, where this domain name is being developed, if you own licensedtherapist.com, you have the authority to address that industry. You have the validation to call up therapists and be like, hey, I own licensedtherapist.com and I'd love to feature your company. You have access to people that without this domain name you would not have access to. And then essentially what you could do is you tap that domain name through a simple website, and you're not looking to get rich instantly. You're getting money off a monthly fee when those therapists want to be on the website. That's what the model is all about. That's the basic. This domain name is the perfect one for it. So there you go. Licensedtherapist.com ends tomorrow. You will be bidding against me, and I am definitely willing to go 4 figures on this domain name, just so you know. Just tossing that out there. But hey, you know, if you want it, we can talk. But that one's right in the arena of a domain name I want. So you and me duke it out. And yes, and I'm selling this here. It is one of the better ones we've seen on here in a while. We haven't seen a good one. And one of the things you notice, in this case, it's buried. We're towards the bottom of this list. I know that I'm willing to pay a few $1,000s for this domain name, or at least 1,000. But there's most of the domain names above here. I wouldn't even hand register those domains. That's one of those ways that you know that the evaluation, Tyler, that's how you can know it's not the valuation doesn't matter. Yeah, you mentioned, Jacob, that you can get the singular. It looked like the singular was developed, but so what's my estimation on? That's a good question. So I don't want to give. So I will. I'll try to give you what I'm looking at here. So you'll notice I'm looking at licensed therapists near me. I will probably easily go up to $2,200 on that, is what I'm guessing. Realistically, though, this domain name is the kind of domain name that could get carried away. Anytime you have an industry-defining domain name, especially for the model that we look at when it's plural, I like plural. If the singular is available, as Jacob kind of mentions in the chat, I'll buy the singular too. That one of the things you want to make sure you do is you want to get the singular and the plural whenever possible. Last year, I believe, or 2 years ago, I bought doggroomers.com, paid $104,000 for it. Yes, $104,000 for doggroomers.com. And then I turned around and got doggroomer.com for 5 figures, mid 5 figures to go with doggroomers.com. So did I need it? You don't have to have it, but it definitely benefits to have both of those domain names. So there you go. So yeah, one of the ways that I come up with my estimated, if you look at back here, our exact domain name, the keyword data sucks. Like what was it? 55 monthly searches, very few advertisers, not a whole lot happening. Based on this domain name's $100, $200 domain name. But based on these over here, some of these, licensed therapists, that's our domain name. So once we do that Control F, that's why I teach that. That's why I talk about the Control F, is it shows you other places your exact domain name is showing up. And licensed therapist near me. Now we're talking, okay, well, I have the shorter version of a $2,200 a month keyword. I have the plural version of another $2,200 a month keyword. Licensed massage therapist near me. I mean, you could target that keyword with this domain name as well. License, like you have a question over here. Basically, the domain name has some keyword volume around it that shows me that the domain name matters to at least a few thousand people a month at a few dollars per click. So I usually will take the keyword volume, and as long as the money and number of advertisers is, give or take around 10, and with cost per click at $2 or more, I will every bit of pay the keyword amount. So that's $2,200. My business model allows me to go up higher than that and know I can make more money. So there you go. Yes, and this is exactly what I have to calculate into it. So that's why I'm not trying to, okay. So Matt's pointing out that licensed therapist is hard to spell, and that's true. So it is hard to spell. I, as you probably noticed, I copy and pasted it in because I don't want to deal with typos. So, and actually, here you go. Jacob he possibly had a typo when he was typing it in. So that you have to consider that hurts the volume. That's another reason why I say like $1,200 to $2,000 versus for $6,000 for this domain name. And I will also mention, because I saw therapist.com come up for auction a few years ago, people pointed out that essentially therapist, the word, is also the rapists. Okay, so one of the reasons I did not bid heavily on therapist.com was because it's literally the rapists, depending on how you proper case it. I think adding the word licensed in front of this one probably actually improves the value of it. I might even like it more than I like the other. Okay. Anyhow, I just realized it's 4 o'clock. Okay, I think we probably end there. And actually, we're at the bottom of the list here. Seeing if there's anything else. Crypto Catcher could be a brand. Super Engineers. So let's summarize it real quick. Licensedtherapist.com, we just talked about that. Then we had buyhour.com, ending in 3 days. That one could be like a payroll service or something along those lines. Yourclosing.com, a service or tech product that helps with the closing documents and organization of closing on selling businesses and or selling houses and so on. Many offices, one of the ones I like for those small offices, for startups that are just getting started, conference.com. It's a thing, so small directory for that. Realfeedback.com, and we also saw reliablereviews.com. So those are two feedback type, review type website domains. Ridegear.com, numbers didn't look as good as what I had hoped, but it's an access to horse riding and motorcycle riding, the gear to do that. Tinytools.com, I just liked it. Then we started it off with the Loveguru.com, which is overpriced and I cannot justify it. So there we go. Those are the main names we found this week here on Domain to Profit. I think we got some good ones. I think we managed to find it. Hopefully you all stuck around to the end. If you did not stick around to the end, you likely missed out on the best domain name of the show. So, but that's okay. I'm okay with you missing out. That means that only those who are watching all the way to the end get to see that the best value. So I want you to be able to get that value from me. Again, you could tweet at me if you're going to go for licensed therapists. I can chat with you about it. I do plan on going 4 figures for it in some level. I'll figure it out. I have to figure it out. So I'll look at it a little closer. I do like it though. So if you have not and you've watched this long, for the love of goodness, like and subscribe to this video and join us each week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we're here each do. We love domain names, and we come back. We talk about them each and every week at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here at Mondays. So come hang out with us. Be a regular. We appreciate you. Domain to Profit. I'm Drew Wash. See you next week.